Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of the Bad Idea Bros. So in the last one you obviously saw me rebuilding my Nifty 50, and the plan from there was to take it out for a run. Now guys, this is Will.
Hey team.
He has thrown a bit of a spanner in my works, so instead of going out for a run, Will got in contact with me and told me that he's bought a Nifty 50 as well. So obviously our stupidity is contagious. The problem with Will's Nifty 50 is that it's semi-disassembled. So the plan for today is to get it up and running, hopefully, diagnose the problems, and then go from there. So I'll flick this camera around and I'll show you what we're working with. Alright guys, so this one's Will's. As you can see, it's in quite a state of disassembly, but not too bad. So the story behind this bike is that Will actually got two. It was a purchase that was basically, you couldn't take one, you had to take both. The reason for that is that the wiring harness in this bike was originally in a fire. Will's done a little bit of work off of camera, obviously. It was a bit of a surprise that he had one, and he's done quite a good job of getting the harness back to a state of usability. So we're going to have to diagnose a few things. Thankfully we've got a couple of Nifties here that we can rob parts off of and use for an example of how they should look. And we'll add the fuel tank, the oil tank and the oiler. And then basically from there, we're just going to see if we can get this thing to fire. Could be a carburetor rebuild involved, but we won't know until we get into it. So guys, that's the plan for today, is to see where we can end up with this thing. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to be checking on Will's bike is the usual culprit for bikes not running, which I mentioned in the last video, which is the electric choke on these things. Now the appropriate way to test them is by being able to get to both leads, and basically you put your multimeter probes across them to get an ohms reading. Now if these are within good serviceable condition, they should be 10 ohms or under. This one's up there, but it's not too bad. 8.7 ohms, so that's within service, and that should be fine. So we can rule that out as being a problem. So the next thing I'm going to do is, similar to what you guys saw in the last episode, I'll disassemble the carburetor, pull the float bowl off of it, have a look at where the float's sitting, have a look at the internals, make sure everything's clean and clear, and then we'll go back to the throttle cable, which has the slide and needle on it, and we'll check where the needle is adjusted to make sure it's not set and running too rich. So that's pretty much it guys. We'll tear this thing down and see what we're looking at. Alright guys, so that's got Will's carburetor back together now. It's in pretty good condition, other than that little issue that I showed you guys with the float needle. Should be fine. We're obviously going to have to check the adjustment on the screws here. There is a setting for that, and we do have the manual, so we can definitely check those once it's back on the bike. But that's the next step. So we'll go and offer this back up to the bike. I'm then going to check the slide and needle, just to make sure that's where it should be. And we've got a few more bits to throw at it, and then we can try to start it and see what's going to happen. Guys, so we've gotten a little further with Will's bike. All the wiring harnesses now tidied up and correctly installed. Will's actually done a really good job of that. Was very minimal work on my behalf. The auto choke, obviously we tested it and that's within spec, and that's now wired in correctly as well. Carby's on, throttle cable is on. We had a little bit of an issue with that. To be honest, I didn't realise we weren't recording when I was mucking around with that, but the slide was jamming up in the throat of the Carby. So cleaned that out, oiled it up, and then cleaned that through. It now seems to be moving quite well. The throttle's returning. Oiler is now connected up to the oil pump, and we've obviously got the fuel line on. So this one doesn't have a battery, so we've got a dodgy car battery connection, but that is all it needs to be for this 12-volt system. Alright, putting some Go juice back in the tank of this one, and from there we'll, like I said, we know this is a decent petcock, so when we open that up, hopefully it won't just flood the Carby. Fuel line's in good order, fuel line clamps are on where they need to be. You saw us fix up the Carby, so theoretically we should be good now. Fuel tap is on.
Lines,
yep, everything is on. Brake light, brake's on, so ignition key gives us a tail light, so we've got power. Let's hope for the best.
Do you want to do a bit of
yep. Try it without, it might be alright. There we go! Look at that! How's that, man? Yeah. Successful day, guys. So obviously Will's bike is now running, which is awesome. We can't go much further currently. We're just waiting on some other bits to arrive. Will's got some work to do to his wheels because they're a bit out of round, but we've got a solution for that. So that'll be it for now, and we'll come back into this as soon as we can. Alright guys, so it is a new day and we are back into Will's Nifty 50, back in my shed. So I'm going to flick this camera around and show you where we're at. Alrighty, so we have another parts bike. This is Will's second one, and we've got all these exploded parts. Josh is here today helping as well, and obviously we've got Will because it's his bike. Does look like we're further behind from where we left the thing last time, but the reason it's so disassembled, Will, if you want to show the guys what you've been up to. So brand new tyres and some very sexy white rims. He's done a really good job of those, and somewhere, there it is, we've got a reconditioned exhaust as well. So all ceramic coated and ready to go. So we've got all these spare parts, so we're basically just making the best bike that we can out of the parts we've got. Now what Josh is up to at the moment is we found a bit of an issue with the carburetor. We've got a few options there. I think we're working with 3 different carbies.
Only one seems to work, and that's that one.
Okay, so this was probably the original carby off the bike. You saw last episode, we did actually pull down a carburetor and give it a clean up to work, but there's been an issue with the throttle basically sticking. I think we may have mentioned that in the last one, but what we've since found is that there's a couple of different needles. So we're trying to make the best out of all the parts. But that's where we're at, guys. So Josh is sticking around with the carby. We're going to throw the wheels on and the plastic covers on the motor. Then we should be back at a point where this starts. We do have a new battery somewhere in there as well to get this bike going again. Sorry, the camera's just gone a bit dark, but that's where we're at, guys. And yeah, hopefully by the end of the day it'll be a roller and runner. Alright guys, so we've obviously got everything back together as it should be on the wee scooter. We've got the battery in, and all we're doing now is the final check. So Will's going to pull this side cover off. That'll give us access to the clutch and the gearing and the belt. So we're just going to check that out, make sure it doesn't look like it's slipping or anything like that. Will's wheels have come up really well, nice and white, and the motor is looking excellent. We've got that nice heat treated exhaust as well, obviously. But we're getting close, guys. It's almost first startup. Since rebuilding, I think we started it once before previously and it smoked like a banshee. So we'll see what happens here. That's it. Okay, so there is a bit of heat burning or scorching on the clutch case there, but the gears look good. The belt's within service, and there's no crap in there. Even looks like it's a genuine Honda belt. It is pretty good, yeah. Well, man, I say that that's good, and we can put the plastics back on this thing and see how it goes. Alright guys, so that is Will's Nifty pretty much back in one piece. How you feeling about it, man?
Loving it.
Loving it?
Finally.
Good to see it in one piece. I am a little jealous, guys. He's got the rear rack. I haven't been able to find one of those for mine. But as you can see, the last part to do is a seat. So Will does have a seat for it here. It's not the actual seat for the bike though. He's got his seat at home being not reupholstered but just tidied up. Polished up. So we've got this ratty white one to go on, and that's the last part. So literally 1 10mm bolt and we're there. Alright guys, and with that being closed, comedy of error. Yep. There we are. So with the seat being closed, that signifies that the bike is done. Is she going to start up, Will?
Shall we give her a go?
Give it a nudge.
Alright.
Alright guys, so that is that. The Bleu Nifty's together, running, theoretically should be good. So the only thing that's left to do now is a bit of a test run. So we're going to chuck our helmets and gear on and hope for the best. This thing might break down, but fingers crossed, we'll see. Let's get into it. Alright guys, here we go. Maiden voyage of Will's little Nifty. You did 42. I was going to say you got 45 then, yeah. She's smoking quite a bit though. I'd say there's still some shit in your exhaust.
Maybe it just needs a good run.
I'd say so. Give it a good thrashing. Well, the next time we could just go for a big run on them.
Yeah, bro.